The phone slipped from Amara's trembling fingers and hit the marble bathroom floor with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. She stared at the shattered screen, watching the delivery confirmation flash beneath the photo she'd just sent. The photo of her in black lace against dark skin, her natural hair wild around her shoulders, lips painted deep burgundy, eyes half-lidded in what she'd thought was seduction, but now felt like pure stupidity. The recipient name glowed accusingly through the cracked glass. Dylan Chen, CEO, not Marcus Kim, marketing director. Not the man she'd been crushing on for 8 months. Her boss, her billionaire, workaholic, never smiles, ice-cold Korean CEO boss, who probably fired people for less than this. No, 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 Amara whispered, snatching up the phone with shaking hands. Her thumb hovered over the delete button, but the word "red" appeared at 11:47 p.m. and her stomach dropped to her knees. He'd seen it. Dylan Chen had seen her practically naked with a message that said, "Been thinking about you all day. What are you going to do about it?" She was going to be fired, sued, blacklisted from every tech company in Silicon Valley. Her career was over. Everything she'd worked for, every barrier she'd broken as a black woman in tech, gone because of wine and stupidity, and her friends convincing her to shoot her shot with Marcus. Her phone buzzed. A response. Amara's vision blurred as she opened the message, preparing for professional devastation. "Ms. Williams, I believe this was intended for someone else. However, I must point out that any man who has you sending photos at midnight instead of being there in person is making a grave mistake. Delete this from your phone. I've already deleted it from mine. We'll never speak of it again." She should have felt relief. Instead, something about the way he wrote "grave mistake" made her pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with fear. Before she could overthink it, she typed back, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Chen. This is mortifying. Thank you for being professional about my very unprofessional mistake." The typing indicator appeared immediately. 3 dots that made her heart race. Professional would be pretending I didn't notice how stunning you looked. Professional would be lying and saying I deleted it without looking. I'm many things, Ms. Williams, but I'm not a liar. I looked, and whoever he is doesn't deserve you. Amara sat down hard on the closed toilet seat. Dylan Chen, the man who'd never said more than 10 words to her in meetings, who communicated primarily through his assistant, who had a reputation for being brilliant but emotionally unavailable, was flirting with her. Hey, beautiful people. Before we dive deeper into Amara's crisis, tell me where you're watching from right now. Drop your city in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because trust me, you're going to want to see how this plays out. Thank you for the support. I love you guys. Now let's get back to the story. How do you know it was meant for someone? Amara typed, her hand still shaking. You could have just been kind and said nothing. Because I saw the timestamp. Because I recognize desperation when I see it. And because I've been watching you for 14 months, and I know you well enough to know you don't send photos like that, unless someone has pushed you to a breaking point. 14 months. He'd been watching her for 14 months. Amara's mind raced back to her first day at Chen Industries, when she'd walked into the board meeting and presented her ideas on algorithmic bias in their AI products. She'd argued with 3 board members, defended her research, and basically told them their flagship product was unethically targeting minority communities. She'd thought she was fired before she started. Instead, Dylan had leaned forward, those dark eyes fixed on her face, and said 4 words. Hire her. Implement everything. She'd been promoted twice since then. She led her own team. She made more money than she'd ever dreamed. And apparently, her CEO had been obsessed with her the entire time. That's creepy, she typed back, even though her stomach was doing backflips. I know. His response was immediate. I don't apologize for noticing you, Amara. I apologize for never having the courage to tell you before tonight. But since we're being honest, let me be very clear. I notice everything. How you bite your bottom lip when you're debugging code. How you drink your coffee black with 2 sugars. How you wear your hair natural on Fridays because you say it's your rebellion against corporate conformity. How you laugh at bad jokes in meetings to make junior developers feel comfortable. How you stay late to mentor interns even though it's not your job. Tears pricked Amara's eyes. No one had ever seen her like this. No one had ever paid this much attention. "You're my boss," she typed. "This is inappropriate. I'm aware. Which is why I've kept my distance for over a year. But you sent me that photo, Amara. You opened a door. I'm just asking if I can walk through it." It was meant for Marcus. The typing indicator stopped, started, stopped again. When his response came through, it was ice cold. Marcus Kim from marketing. The man who's dated 4 women in this company in the past year. Who takes credit for his team's work. Who made a comment about diversity hires last month that I had HR document. Amara felt something crack inside her chest. Yes, that Marcus, the one who's been friendly to me, who helped me when I first moved here and didn't know anyone. Friendly. Dylan's response came fast and sharp. "He's been stringing you along, Amara. I've watched him do it. Flirt just enough to keep you interested. Pull back when you reciprocate. He likes the chase. He doesn't want you. He wants the conquest of dating the brilliant black woman everyone respects. He wants the story." "That's not true," Amara typed, but her hands were shaking because it felt true. Marcus had been hot and cold for months, flirty one day, distant the next. He'd never actually asked her out. Just hinted, suggested, made her feel like if she was just a little more available, a little more flexible, a little more like the women he usually dated. "Prove me wrong," Dylan wrote. "Go to dinner with me tomorrow night. Let me show you what it looks like when a man actually wants you. Not the idea of you, not the conquest. You." Amara stared at that message for a long time. This was insane. Dylan Chen was her boss, her CEO. Dating him would be career suicide. People would say she slept her way up. She'd be the black woman who seduced the powerful Asian CEO. The whispers would destroy everything she'd built. But God, she was tired of being careful. Tired of making herself smaller. Tired of waiting for Marcus to decide she was worth the effort. "One dinner," she typed, "but somewhere private. I can't have the office gossip about this." His response made her stomach flip. "My place. I'll cook. 7 p.m. I'll send a car. You cook." "Amara, there's a lot you don't know about me. But you will. Sleep well. And delete that photo from your phone. I don't want you looking at it and second-guessing yourself. You're stunning. Don't let anyone make you forget that." She deleted the photo, stared at their conversation, read it 3 more times before finally putting her phone down and looking at herself in the mirror. What the hell had she just agreed to? The next morning, Amara walked into Chen Industries with her head high and her stomach in knots. She'd spent 2 hours picking out an outfit that said professional but confident. Navy blue blazer, cream silk blouse, tailored black pants, her natural hair in a high puff, gold hoops, minimal makeup. She looked good. She felt terrified. The elevator ride to the 5th floor felt like descending into hell. What if Dylan had changed his mind? What if last night was some kind of test? What if he told HR about her inappropriate photo? But when she walked past his office, the blinds were open, and he was standing at his desk, phone to his ear. Their eyes met through the glass. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just held her gaze for 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours, then deliberately looked away, back to his call. Professional, distant, like last night never happened. Amara exhaled and headed to her team's area, grateful for the normalcy. Her developers were already arguing about framework choices. Her project manager was stress-eating donuts. Her designer was blasting K-pop through headphones. This was her world. Code and deadlines and problems she could solve with logic. Not whatever the hell was happening with Dylan Chen. "Morning, Amara." a voice said behind her, and she turned to find Marcus, leaning against her cubicle, all dimpled smiles and casual charm. He was handsome in that effortless way, half Korean, half white, with perfect teeth and perfectly styled hair and a perfectly pressed shirt that probably cost more than her rent. "Marcus, hey." She forced a smile. "You looked stressed yesterday. Everything okay?" His concern felt performative, now that Dylan had planted seeds of doubt. "Just tired. Long week." "I was thinking." Marcus leaned closer, voice dropping to that intimate tone he used when he wanted something. "Maybe we could grab drinks after work. There's that new wine bar in Soma. Very exclusive. I know the owner." Of course he did. Marcus always knew someone. Amara opened her mouth to say yes, to fall back into the pattern of maybe someday if I'm patient. But then she remembered Dylan's message. He wants the conquest, not you. "I can't tonight, I have plans." Something flickered across Marcus's face. Surprise, maybe annoyance. "Plans with who?" "That's personal." She kept her voice light but firm. "Right, personal." Marcus straightened, his smile tightening. "Well, let me know if your plans fall through. Offer stands." He walked away, and Amara realized her hands were clenched into fists. 14 months she'd been waiting for Marcus to ask her out properly. 14 months of maybe next time and we should hang out sometime. And the second she wasn't available, suddenly he was interested. Dylan was right. If you're enjoying this story so far, do me a favor and smash that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me, Team Marcus or Team Dylan? Let's see where your loyalty lies. Now, back to the drama. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Amara tried to focus on code reviews, on her team's sprint planning, on literally anything except the fact that she was having dinner at her CEO's penthouse tonight. But every time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped. At 3 p.m., a message from an unknown number. "The car will pick you up at your apartment at 6:45. Dress comfortably. We're staying in." "This is Dylan, by the way. I'm texting from my personal phone." Amara saved the number, stared at it for too long, then typed back, "How do you know where I live? HR files. I'm aware that's inappropriate. I'm choosing not to care today." His honesty was disarming. Most men would have lied, would have made excuses. Dylan just owned it. "What should I bring?" she asked. "Just yourself. Everything else is handled." At 5 p.m., Amara left the office early, claiming a headache. It wasn't entirely a lie. Her head was pounding with anxiety and anticipation, and the dawning realization that tonight was going to change everything. She went home, showered, changed outfits 4 times, and finally settled on high-waisted jeans, a soft cashmere sweater in burgundy, and ankle boots. She left her hair natural, added gold jewelry, kept her makeup simple. This wasn't a seduction. This was dinner. Just dinner. At 6:45 exactly, her phone buzzed. "Car's downstairs." Amara grabbed her purse, checked her reflection one last time, and headed down. The car was a sleek black sedan with a driver who opened her door without a word. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne, and there was a single white rose on the seat with a note. "For courage. You'll need it. I don't do anything halfway. Dylan." Amara held that rose the entire 20-minute drive to Pacific Heights, watching the city blur past, wondering what the hell she was walking into. The car stopped in front of a modern glass building that screamed money. The driver opened her door, gestured to the private elevator. "Penthouse, Mr. Chen is expecting you." Her heels clicked on marble as she crossed the lobby. The elevator required a key card, which the driver provided before disappearing. The doors closed, and Amara watched the numbers climb. 20 floors, 30, 40. Finally, PH. The doors opened directly into Dylan's apartment, and Amara forgot how to breathe. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. The Golden Gate Bridge glowed orange in the distance. The space was massive, minimalist, all clean lines and expensive art and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. And standing in the open kitchen, wearing dark jeans and a black sweater with the sleeves pushed up, was Dylan Chen. He looked different outside the office. Younger, less intimidating. His dark hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. No glasses, no tie. Just a devastatingly handsome Korean man who was looking at her like she was the only thing in the room. "Amara," he said, and his voice was lower than she remembered, warmer. "Mr. Chen." "Dylan, please, we're not at the office." He moved toward her, each step deliberate. "You wore burgundy. It's my favorite color on you. How would you know what colors I wear? I told you. I notice everything." He stopped a foot away, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and woodsy. "You look beautiful, but you always do." Amara's breath caught in her throat. No one had ever looked at her the way Dylan was looking at her now, like she was something precious and terrifying all at once. His dark eyes traced her face, lingering on her lips before meeting her gaze again. "Wine?" he asked, breaking the tension. "Please." He poured her a glass of red from a bottle that probably cost more than her monthly salary, then gestured to the kitchen island where ingredients were laid out. "I hope you like Korean food. I'm making bulgogi and banchan, my grandmother's recipes." "You really cook." Amara perched on one of the bar stools, watching him move around the kitchen with surprising ease. "My Iama insisted all her children learn. She said a man who can't feed himself can't take care of anyone else." Dylan began slicing beef with practiced precision. "I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. I'm the oldest, which means I got all the pressure and all the cooking lessons." This was surreal. Her CEO was cooking her dinner and talking about his family like they were on a normal date. Like there wasn't a massive power imbalance between them. Like this wasn't completely insane. "Tell me about them," Amara said, sipping her wine. "Your family." Dylan's expression softened in a way she'd never seen at the office. "Ji-hyun is a surgeon in New York. Min-seo is getting her PhD in astrophysics at MIT. Dae-hyun is a disappointment, according to my father, because he chose music over business." He smiled slightly. "He's actually the happiest of all of us." "And you? Are you happy?" The question seemed to catch him off guard. He stopped slicing, his jaw tightening. "I'm successful. I'm respected. I've built an empire my father said I'd never achieve because I was too soft, too American, too influenced by my mother's kindness." He resumed cutting, but his movements were sharper now. "Happy is a luxury I haven't prioritized." "That's sad," Amara said quietly. "It's realistic." Dylan began marinating the beef, his hands moving with the same precision he brought to board meetings. "My father built Chen Industries from nothing. Immigrant story, bootstrap narrative, all of it. But he built it on fear and control. When he had his stroke 3 years ago, and I took over, everyone expected me to be exactly like him." He looked up at her. "I'm not. I'm building something different, something better. But it's lonely at the top when you're trying to change everything your predecessor believed in." Amara understood that loneliness. She'd felt it every day as one of 3 black women in a company of 200 employees. The weight of representation, the pressure to be perfect, the isolation of being different. "Is that why you noticed me?" she asked. "Because I'm also trying to change things." "I noticed you because you walked into a room full of men who'd built a racist algorithm, and you didn't apologize for calling them out. You had data, conviction, and 0 fear." Dylan's eyes locked on hers. "You reminded me why I wanted to change this company in the first place, to build something that actually serves people instead of exploiting them." "So I'm what? Your moral compass?" "No. You're the woman I fell in love with before I ever had a conversation with her." The wine glass nearly slipped from Amara's fingers. Dylan, I know it's too soon to say that. I know it sounds crazy. But I don't believe in wasting time anymore, Amara. Life is too short. My father's stroke taught me that. One day you're building an empire, the next you can't remember your children's names. He moved around the island, stopping directly in front of her, close enough to touch. I've spent 14 months watching you from a distance because it was appropriate, professional, safe. Last night you sent me that photo and I realized something. What? I don't want safe anymore. I want you. Amara's heart was racing so fast she thought it might burst. You don't even know me. Not really. You know the professional version, the woman who shows up to work and does her job. You don't know my mess, my insecurities, the fact that I cry during Pixar movies and eat ice cream for breakfast and have panic attacks about being an imposter in tech. Then let me know all of that. Dylan's hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away, before his fingers brushed her cheek. His touch was gentle, reverent. Let me know every single part of you. The brilliant parts and the messy parts and everything in between. This is moving too fast, Amara whispered. But she didn't pull away from his touch. Is it? Or have we been moving toward this for 14 months and we're just finally honest about it? Before she could answer, his phone rang. Dylan closed his eyes, jaw clenching. I'm sorry. I have to check. It might be the Singapore office. He stepped away, and Amara could breathe again. She watched him answer, switch to Korean, his entire demeanor shifting back to CEO mode. Sharp, commanding, controlled. This was the man the office knew. Cold, brilliant, untouchable. But she'd seen the other side now. The man who cooked family recipes and talked about loneliness and touched her face like she might break. Dylan ended the call, ran a hand through his hair. Crisis averted. Where were we? You were about to feed me, Amara said, trying to lighten the mood. He smiled, and it transformed his face. Right. Food first. Existential conversations about my feelings later. They ate at the island, bulgogi and rice and 6 different banchan that Dylan explained one by one. The food was incredible, but Amara barely tasted it. She was too focused on watching him, on the way he moved, the way he looked at her between bites, the way he seemed genuinely relaxed for the first time since she'd known him. Can I ask you something personal? Dylan said as he cleared their plates. After everything tonight. Sure. Why Marcus? What did you see in him? Amara considered lying, but what was the point? He was safe, uncomplicated. He paid attention to me when I first started, when I was lonely and overwhelmed and didn't know anyone in San Francisco. He made me feel like I belonged. She paused. And he was never serious enough to hurt me. I could have a crush without risk. And now, after last night, now I realize he was never going to choose me. Not really. I was just entertainment between actual relationships. Dylan's expression darkened. He's an idiot. Maybe. But I'm not blameless. I let him string me along because it was easier than taking a real risk. Amara met his eyes. Like this. This is a real risk. It is. Dylan moved back around the island, standing close again. I'm your boss. Dating me could ruin your career. People will talk. They'll say you slept your way up. They'll question every promotion, every success. Your reputation will be collateral damage. I know, and I can't promise to protect you from all of it, but I can promise to make it worth the risk. His hand found hers on the counter. I can restructure reporting lines. You'll work under the CTO instead of me. I'll recuse myself from any decisions about your career. I'll do whatever it takes to make this ethical. That's not enough, Amara said, and his face fell. I need you to promise me something else. Anything. If this doesn't work out, if we try and fail, you won't retaliate. You won't make my job impossible. You'll let me leave with dignity and references and my reputation intact." Dylan's thumb traced circles on her palm. "I promise. But Amara, I don't fail at things I care about. And I care about you more than I've cared about anything in a very long time. If you're still watching, drop a like right now and tell me in the comments what you think Amara should do. Is Dylan worth the risk? Let me know your thoughts while we continue this story." They moved to the living room, to the massive couch facing those floor-to-ceiling windows. The city glittered below them like a promise. Dylan poured more wine, put on music, something instrumental and atmospheric. "Tell me about Ghana," he said, settling next to her close but not touching. "You mentioned your family is from Accra." Amara smiled, surprised he remembered from a casual conversation months ago. "My parents immigrated when I was 5. Dad's a doctor, Mom's a professor. Very typical African parent expectation situation. They wanted me to be a doctor or lawyer. But you chose tech." "I chose code because it was logical, predictable. I could control the outcome if I wrote it correctly." She sipped her wine. "My parents were horrified, thought I was wasting my education. But then I got my first job at Google and suddenly I was their brilliant daughter again." "Do they know about Marcus?" "God, no. My mother would have shown up at his apartment with a wooden spoon." Amara laughed. "She's very protective, very Ghanaian mother. Nothing is ever good enough, but also no one is allowed to disrespect her daughter. I like her already. She'd like you too. Successful Korean CEO, you'd be her dream son-in-law." The words hung in the air between them. Son-in-law. Amara's cheeks heated. "I didn't mean that. I just meant, I know what you meant." Dylan's smile was soft. "But for the record, I'd be honored to meet your mother, wooden spoon and all." They talked for hours, about everything. Their childhoods, their fears, their ambitions. Dylan told her about the pressure of being the oldest son in a traditional Korean family, about fighting his father's legacy, about the guilt of changing everything his father built. Amara told him about imposter syndrome, about being the only black woman in most rooms, about the exhaustion of constantly proving herself. Somewhere around midnight, Amara realized she'd never felt this seen by anyone. Dylan didn't just listen. He understood. He asked follow-up questions. He challenged her when she downplayed her accomplishments. He made her feel brilliant without making her feel like a trophy. "It's late," Dylan said eventually, though he made no move to end the evening. "I should let you go home. What if I don't want to go home yet?" Something shifted in his expression. Heat, intent. "Amara, if you stay, I'm going to kiss you. And if I kiss you, I'm not going to want to stop." "Who says I want you to stop?" Dylan's control snapped. He cupped her face in both hands, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones, his eyes searching hers for permission. "Tell me this is what you want. Not because I'm your boss, not because you're trying to prove something, because you want me." "I want you," Amara breathed. "I've wanted you since that board meeting 14 months ago, when you looked at me like I was the smartest person in the room." He kissed her then, and it wasn't gentle. It was desperate, consuming, like he'd been holding back for too long and couldn't anymore. His lips moved against hers with precision and passion, his hands tangling in her hair, pulling her closer until she was practically in his lap. Amara melted into him, her hands gripping his shoulders, kissing him back with equal intensity. He tasted like wine and promises, and when he pulled back to breathe, his forehead resting against hers, they were both shaking. "Stay," Dylan whispered against her lips. "Stay tonight. Let me show you what it's like when someone actually chooses you." Amara should have said no, should have been smart, cautious, professional. Instead, she nodded, and Dylan stood, pulling her up with him. leading her through the penthouse to his bedroom. The space was as minimalist as the rest of the apartment, all dark wood and white linens and windows that made her feel like they were floating above the city. Dylan turned to face her, his hands gentle as they framed her face. "We don't have to do anything you're not ready for," he said softly. "We can just sleep, talk, whatever you need." But Amara was done being careful, done holding back. She pulled him down for another kiss, her fingers working the buttons of his shirt, sliding it off his shoulders. He was all lean muscle and golden skin, and when his hands found the hem of her sweater, she raised her arms, letting him pull it off. They undressed each other slowly, carefully, like unwrapping something precious. And when Dylan laid her back on his bed, his body covering hers, his weight perfect and grounding, Amara felt something shift in her chest. This was different. This was real. He made love to her like he did everything else, with complete focus and devastating precision. He took his time, learning her body, what made her gasp, what made her arch against him. He whispered in Korean against her skin, words she didn't understand, but felt in her bones. And when she finally shattered beneath him, his name on her lips, he held her through it, his own control breaking as he followed her over the edge. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and breathless, the city lights casting shadows across the ceiling. "That was," Amara started, but couldn't find the words. "Inevitable," Dylan finished, pressing a kiss to her temple. "That was inevitable." She fell asleep in his arms, safer than she'd felt in years, unaware that tomorrow everything would fall apart. Amara woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she felt the expensive sheets against her bare skin, saw Dylan's bedroom around her, and remembered everything. She'd slept with her CEO. Panic hit her like ice water. What had she done? This was career suicide, professional disaster. Everything she'd worked for, compromised because she couldn't keep her attraction in check. But then Dylan appeared in the doorway, wearing joggers and nothing else, holding 2 coffee mugs, and her panic shifted to something else entirely. Want. Need. The terrifying realization that last night hadn't been enough. "Good morning," he said, his voice still rough from sleep. "Black with 2 sugars." He remembered. Of course he remembered. Amara sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. "What time is it?" 7. "We have 2 hours before the office opens." Dylan handed her the coffee, sat on the edge of the bed. "I called my driver. He'll take you home to change, then to work. No one will see you leave here. You've thought of everything. I'm good at logistics." His smile was soft. "How are you feeling?" Honest answer. Terrified, confused, like I just made the best and worst decision of my life simultaneously. Dylan's hand found hers on top of the sheet. "Amara, look at me." She did. His dark eyes were serious, intent. "Last night changed everything," he said quietly. "I'm not going to pretend it didn't. I'm not going to show up at the office and act like we're strangers. But I also need you to know that I'm going to protect you. Your career, your reputation, everything. I meant what I said about restructuring. It happens today. People will still talk. Let them. I don't care what people think of me. I care what you think of me." Amara's throat tightened. "I think you're too good to be true. I think I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then I'll just have to prove you wrong." Dylan leaned in, kissed her softly. "Every single day until you believe me." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. They showered separately because Dylan said if they showered together, they'd never make it to work. Amara borrowed one of his shirts and her clothes from last night, and when the car dropped her at her apartment, she had just enough time to change into work clothes and try to wipe the I just had amazing sex glow from her face. She failed, spectacularly. Walking into Chen Industries felt like walking into a spotlight. Every eye seemed to track her movements. Every whispered conversation felt like it was about her. Paranoia, probably. No one knew. No one could. No. But when she passed Dylan's office, he was on a call, and their eyes met through the glass. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just looked at her with an intensity that made her stomach flip, then deliberately looked away. Professional, distant, like they'd agreed. Amara made it to her desk and tried to focus on code reviews. Failed. Her mind kept drifting back to Dylan's hands on her skin, his voice in her ear, the way he'd looked at her like she was everything. "Morning, stranger." Marcus appeared at her cubicle again, and Amara had to suppress a groan. "How were those plans last night?" "Fine." She kept her eyes on her screen. "That's all I get?" "Fine." Marcus leaned against her desk, invading her space. "Come on, Amara. Was it a date? Are you seeing someone?" "That's really none of your business, Marcus." His smile tightened. "I'm just looking out for you. You're new to the city. I'd hate to see you get hurt by some guy who doesn't appreciate what he has." The irony was choking. Marcus had been stringing her along for months, and now he wanted to play protective friend. "I can take care of myself," Amara said firmly. "But thanks for the concern. Is it that CEO?" Marcus's voice dropped, turned ugly. "I saw the way Chen looked at you in the meeting last week. Everyone did. Is that why you're suddenly unavailable? You're sleeping your way to the top." Amara's blood went cold. She stood slowly, meeting Marcus's eyes. "Get away from my desk, now. I'm just saying, it's a bad look. The diversity hire hooking up with the boss. People are going to talk. The only person talking right now is you, and if you ever refer to me as a diversity hire again, you'll be talking to HR." Marcus's face flushed red. "I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. Now leave." He left, but not before giving her a look that promised this wasn't over. Amara sat back down, her hands shaking with rage and fear. Marcus knew, or suspected, which meant soon everyone would know. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dylan's personal number. "My office! Now! We need to talk!" Amara's stomach dropped. Someone had told him about Marcus. Or worse, Marcus had gone straight to Dylan to cause problems. She took the elevator to the executive floor, her heart pounding. Dylan's assistant waved her through without a word, which felt ominous. She knocked on his door. "Come in." Dylan was standing at his window, hands in his pockets, his entire body tense. When he turned to face her, his expression was carefully neutral. "Close the door," he said quietly. Amara did, her mouth dry. "What's wrong?" "I just got a very interesting call from Marcus Kim. He wanted to inform me that you and I are having an inappropriate relationship. He suggested it might be affecting your work performance and creating a hostile work environment for other employees." Amara's vision blurred with rage. "That's not—" "I know it's not." Dylan's voice was ice. "I also know that Marcus has been documenting interactions between us for the past 2 weeks. He has timestamps, photos of us talking in the hallway, speculation about why you've been promoted twice in 14 months. He paused. "He's building a case to either get you fired or get me to step down. Why would he do that? Because you rejected him. Because I'm a threat to his position. Because he's a small man who needs to tear others down to feel powerful." Dylan's jaw clenched. "And because he's not entirely wrong. We are having an inappropriate relationship. By corporate standards, I've violated every ethics policy we have." Amara felt tears burning. "So what are you saying? Last night was a mistake?" "No." Dylan crossed the room in 3 strides, cupping her face in his hands. "Last night was the best decision I've made in years. But Amara, we need to be smart about this. Marcus is going to HR today, which means we need to get ahead of it. How? Dylan's thumbs brushed her cheekbones. I restructure your reporting line immediately. You work under Jennifer, our CTO, effective today. I recuse myself from any decisions about your career. We disclose the relationship to HR ourselves before Marcus can weaponize it. And we accept whatever consequences come. You could lose your job. I won't. I own 40% of this company. The board can't fire me. His eyes were fierce. But they could make your life hell. They could force you out. Paint you as the seductress who corrupted the CEO. That's the reality we're facing. Amara pulled back, wrapping her arms around herself. Maybe we should just end this. Go back to how things were. It's only been one night. We could pretend it never happened. Could you? Dylan's voice was rough. Because I can't. I can't go back to watching you from a distance. I can't pretend I don't know how you taste, how you sound when you come, how perfectly you fit against me. He stepped closer. I won't give you up to make Marcus or the board or anyone else comfortable. Even if it costs me everything, it won't. I won't let it. Dylan's hands found her shoulders. But I need you to decide right now, Amara. Are you with me? Really with me? Because if we do this, if we fight this together, there's no going back. It's going to get ugly. People are going to say terrible things. Your reputation will take a hit before it gets better. Can you handle that? Amara thought about Marcus's smug face. About 14 months of watching Dylan from afar. About last night in his arms, feeling seen and chosen and valued for the first time in years. About the choice between safety and happiness. I'm with you, she said firmly. But Dylan, I need something from you too. Anything. If this costs me my job here, you help me land somewhere better. You use your connections, your reputation, everything. Because I'm not going to let Marcus or anyone else make me a victim. If I go down fighting, and I come back stronger. Dylan's smile was fierce and proud. That's my girl. Now let's go to HR and ruin Marcus's whole plan. They walked into the HR office together, hands not touching but shoulders aligned, presenting a united front. Sandra Lee, the chief people officer, looked up from her computer, and her eyebrows rose. Dylan, Amara, this is unexpected. We need to disclose a personal relationship, Dylan said without preamble. Amara and I have been involved romantically as of last night. I'm aware this violates company policy regarding relationships between supervisors and direct reports. I'm here to implement a solution. Sandra's expression was unreadable. I see. And you're coming to me before anyone reports this. Actually, Dylan's smile was sharp. I suspect Marcus Kim from marketing will be in your office within the hour to report exactly this. I wanted to control the narrative. Marcus Kim, who has been in my office 3 times this year for inappropriate conduct with female colleagues. Sandra's tone was dry. That, Marcus Kim. Amara blinked. He's been reported before? Multiple times. We've been building a case. Sandra leaned back in her chair. But please continue. What's your proposed solution? Dylan outlined the restructuring, the recusal from decisions, the complete separation of their professional relationship. Sandra listened, made notes, asked pointed questions about timeline and intent. Finally, she said, "This is highly irregular, but I appreciate you coming forward proactively. However, Amara, I need to speak with you privately. Dylan, please wait outside." Dylan squeezed Amara's hand once, subtle and quick, then left. The door closed behind him. Sandra's expression softened. Amara, I need you to be completely honest with me. Did Dylan pressure you into this relationship in any way? Use his position to coerce you? Make you feel like you had no choice? No! Amara's answer was immediate and firm. If anything, he kept his distance for over a year specifically because of the power dynamic. Last night was my choice. Completely. And you understand that people will assume otherwise, that your career here will be scrutinized? I do, but I'm not going to let fear of what people think stop me from choosing happiness. Amara met Sandra's eyes. I'm a good engineer. My work speaks for itself. If people want to reduce me to a woman who slept with the boss, that says more about them than me. Sandra smiled slightly. You're tougher than you look. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Dylan's restructuring goes through today. You report to Jennifer. Dylan recuses himself from any career decisions regarding you. We document everything. And when Marcus comes in here with his little dossier, I'm going to remind him that we have our own dossier on his behavior, and maybe he should focus on his own conduct. You'd do that, Amara. I've been in HR for 20 years. I can spot a vindictive ass when I see one. Marcus is trying to weaponize policy to punish you for rejecting him. I don't tolerate that. Sandra stood. But I'm going to be watching this relationship closely. If there's any hint of favoritism, any suggestion that Dylan is using his position to benefit you professionally, we'll have problems. Clear? Crystal clear. Good. Send Dylan back in. Amara left the office, found Dylan pacing in the hallway. She wants you. How did it go? Better than expected. Sandra's on our side. Kind of. Dylan's shoulders relaxed infinitesimally. Good. That's good. He cupped her face briefly, too quick for anyone to notice. I'll handle the rest. You go back to your team. Act normal. This will blow over. But it didn't blow over. By lunch, the entire office was buzzing. Someone had leaked the HR meeting. Suddenly, everyone knew that Dylan and Amara were together, and the reactions ranged from supportive to vicious. Amara's team was mostly confused. Wait, you and Chen? Her project manager asked. Like, our Chen? Ice King Chen who never smiles? He smiles, Amara said defensively, just not at work. This is wild, but like, good for you. He's hot in a scary way. But other reactions were worse. Amara heard the whispers in the bathroom. Diversity hire, sleeping her way up. Gold digger. She saw the looks in the cafeteria, the way conversations stopped when she walked by. Marcus was the worst. He cornered her in the parking garage that evening, his face ugly with rage. You think you've won? He snarled. You think dating the CEO protects you? Everyone knows what you are now, Amara. Everyone knows you're just another woman who used her body to get ahead. And everyone knows you're a bitter man who can't handle rejection. Amara shot back. Sandra told me about the complaints, Marcus. Multiple women. You have a pattern, so maybe focus on your own problems instead of mine. His hand shot out, gripping her arm. You're going to regret this. Take your hand off her. Now. Dylan's voice cut through the garage like a blade. He appeared from nowhere, his entire body radiating danger. You have 3 seconds before I make you regret every decision that led you to this moment. Marcus dropped her arm like it burned. This is a parking garage. You can't threaten me. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. Dylan stepped between Marcus and Amara, his voice dropping to something lethal. You filed a false report with HR. You've harassed multiple women in this company. You just put your hands on my girlfriend without her consent. Pick which violation you want me to start with. Your girlfriend. Marcus laughed bitterly. You're going to ruin your reputation for her. She's not worth it, Chen. She's just... Dylan moved so fast, Amara almost missed it. He didn't hit Marcus, just crowded into his space, voice dropping to a whisper that was somehow more terrifying than shouting. Finish that sentence. Please, give me a reason. Marcus went pale. He stumbled backward, nearly tripping. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out tomorrow morning. HR will email you the paperwork tonight." Dylan's smile was ice. "And Marcus, if you ever contact Amara again, if you ever mention her name, if you even think about her, I will personally ensure that every tech company in Silicon Valley knows exactly why you were terminated. Are we clear?" Marcus fled. Dylan turned to Amara, his expression shifting from deadly to concerned in a heartbeat. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" "I'm fine. You didn't have to fire him." "Yes, I did. He put his hands on you. That's unforgivable." Dylan pulled her into his arms, right there in the parking garage where anyone could see. "I told you I'd protect you. I meant it." Amara buried her face in his chest, breathing in his scent, letting herself be held. "People are going to say you fired him because of me, that you're abusing your power. Let them. HR has documented his misconduct for months. This was inevitable. You were just the final straw." Dylan pressed a kiss to her hair. "Come home with me. Let me cook you dinner. Let me make you forget about all of this. I have work. It can wait. You're emotionally exhausted. You need a break." He pulled back, tucking a curl behind her ear. "Please, let me take care of you." Amara nodded, too tired to argue. They went back to his penthouse, and Dylan cooked while Amara curled up on his couch with wine, watching the city lights. He made kimchi jjigae, spicy and comforting, and they ate in comfortable silence. Afterward, Dylan pulled her into his lap on the couch, his arms wrapped around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. "I'm sorry today was hard," he murmured against her neck. "I'm sorry people are cruel." "It's not your fault." "It is, though. If I'd kept my distance, if I hadn't pursued you." Amara twisted in his arms to face him. "Stop. I chose this. I chose you. Yes, it's hard. Yes, people are being awful. But Dylan, I don't regret last night. I don't regret this." His eyes searched her face. "Even with everything that's happening. Even with everything," she kissed him softly. "You make me feel seen, valued, like I matter beyond my productivity or my contributions. No one's ever done that before. You do matter, more than you know." Dylan's hands framed her face. "I'm falling in love with you, Amara. I know it's too soon. I know I'm supposed to play it cool. But I'm not good at pretending, and I don't want to hide how I feel." Tears pricked Amara's eyes. "I'm falling for you too. It terrifies me." "Good. I'd be worried if you weren't scared. This is terrifying." He smiled against her lips. "But it's also the best thing that's happened to me in years." They made love again that night, slower this time, more tender. Dylan worshipped every inch of her body, whispering promises against her skin in English and Korean. And when Amara fell apart in his arms, she knew there was no going back. She was all in. 3 months later, Amara walked into a conference room at TechCrunch Disrupt, her heart pounding. She was giving a keynote on ethical AI, the biggest speech of her career. She'd left Chen Industries 6 weeks ago, not because of Dylan, but because she'd been headhunted by a competitor for a CTO position with equity and a team of 50 engineers. It was everything she'd dreamed of, and she'd earned it on her own merit. Dylan had been supportive, even though it meant they were no longer working together. They'd made it work. Date nights, weekend trips, video calls when he traveled for business. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And now, standing backstage at the biggest tech conference in the world, Amara was about to step into a spotlight that had nothing to do with who she was dating, and everything to do with what she'd built. "You're going to kill it," a voice said behind her, and she turned to find Dylan in a sharp suit, looking devastating and proud. "I snuck backstage to tell you that. You're supposed to be in the audience. I'll go back, but first." He pulled her close, kissed her thoroughly, not caring who saw. "I love you. Go show them why you're the smartest person in any room." Amara walked onto that stage with her head high and her voice steady. She talked about algorithmic bias, about the responsibility of tech companies, about building systems that served everyone instead of exploiting the vulnerable. And when she finished to thunderous applause, she saw Dylan in the front row, standing and clapping with an expression of pure pride. That night in his hotel room, tangled in expensive sheets with the San Francisco skyline glittering outside, Dylan pulled out a small box. "It's too soon for what you think this is," he said with a smile. "But I wanted you to have this." Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant, a single line of code, while true, love you. "It's an infinite loop," Dylan explained. "In programming it runs forever. That's how I feel about you. Infinite, forever. No conditions, no breaks, just love on repeat." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "You're such a nerd. You're nerd." He fastened the necklace around her neck, pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "So what do you say? Want to keep running this loop with me? Forever?" Amara whispered, pulling him down for a kiss. "Infinite loop, no breaks." And as they made love with the city lights as their witness, Amara realized that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes sending a photo to the wrong person opens a door you didn't know you needed. Sometimes love finds you in the messiest, most unexpected ways. And sometimes, just sometimes, taking the risk is worth everything that comes after. So, beautiful people, what did you think of Amara and Dylan's story? Did it give you all the feels? Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. And don't forget to smash that like button if you want more romance stories like this. Subscribe because I've got more drama, more passion, and more unexpected love coming your way. Until next time, remember that the best things in life often come from the mistakes we're most afraid to make. Love you all. See you in the next story.